to Con Studio. If you have not met me yet, my name is Marcy. I am a crafter from northern Wisconsin, and this video is a Flosstube video. If you are a new friend, welcome, and if you are a returning friend, welcome back. In this video, I have just cross-stitch to share and a couple books that I'm reading. In this video, I have a few current whips, some new starts, and one FFO that I talked about on my last video that I was this close to being done with and didn't want to share until it was completely done with. In my trying to be ultra prepared for this, I feel like I am not as prepared as I want to be. The first works in progress I want to share, sorry, is my Western Meadowlark by Lumi Stitches. I've got the right side this time. My project card. Well, one day. I started this on April 13th. I'm using the called for DMC. The Ada is 14 count Ada that I dyed myself. Originally started as like a blue white modeling, I guess you'd call it, reminiscent of a sunny blue cloudy sky, and I decided that was not going to work because one of these colors was going to blend in with it, the white. And you can't even really see it there. But anyways, these are the DMCs. I don't remember off the top of my head where I was the last time I shared this one. I am proud to say that I have the whole bird done. And I am at 1,013 stitches on this so far. I don't know how many stitches there are. I had a paper pattern that I scanned into Pattern Keeper. But I am willing to guess that this chart isn't much more than 3,000 stitches. I'm going to go on a limb and say it's definitely not more than 4,000. So let's see how far off I am on that when this is completed. But yeah, the bird's done. I started the stem, and I really enjoyed it while I was working on it. This came up on my wheel, I think only once since I last recorded, which if I had been thinking, I would have brought my book of days out here with me so I could have been a little more precise on that. That is, yeah, I haven't done much with the wheel this go around because of Mudpuppy May, which I will share those a little bit more after I share my next piece. I've got one more whip. The next one I want to share is USA 250 by Wrought Iron Stitches. Here is my project card. I think this is another one that I've only spun the wheel once on since I last recorded. I've got 1,032 stitches out of 5,446. And since this one was a PDF, I can tell you that I am just over 20% complete on it. I'm keeping it in a project bag that I made for myself. And I think the last, well, I'll have a picture here. I think where I last showed you had just the shield and the legs. And I am very glad to say that I have got the outline of one of the wings and one of the faces. I forgot to say that I'm using the called for DMC. And this fabric is 14 count Ada that I dyed myself. It is very wrinkly. It is so bad. But I roll the fabric up when I'm done with the project and I take it out of the hoop or the Q-snap that I'm working on. And I have no idea why this one is just so wrinkly, but yeah, I've never had one that bad before. Here's the floss. Before I show my new start, I thought I have a preamble about it before I share. My last video, I drew a winner for the project bag, the patriotic project bag that I was giving away. And Jess from Lumi Stitches won it, and I laughed and thought it was really funny because right before I recorded my Flosstube, I watched her most recent Flosstube, and she is a bag maker as well as a fabric dyer and a cross-stitch designer. Well, she shared a few of her bags in that video, and there was one that I saw that I wanted, like, right now. I stopped the video, I ran over to her Etsy site, and I bought a bag. And I have to say, this is the first time that I've purchased someone else's project bag because I can make my own. But I saw this fabric this one was made in, and it was so cute. And I've never seen anything like it before that I just had to get it. So here it is. It was kittens and kittens with wings, and it was just so cute that I was like, I have to have that now. And I know that video was out for a little bit before I watched it, so I wasn't sure if I would get it or not, but I got it. And it also came with this adorable little bag to go with it to hold all your little notions. And the zipper pull. Sometimes my brain. Cute little zipper pull. And for this one, she tied a little ribbon. And what I saw, I didn't catch when I first seen this, but in person, I noticed she had a little, what do they call that? Oh my Lord. Anyways, she put the little embellishment on it, and that was so cute. It was such a nice little touch. And she also included a little needle minder. I'm trying to get it to focus. It's like a little, what comes to mind for me is lunar moth. That's probably not it, but there's little antennae that make me think of moth, and it's just really cute. And then the little button she put on the back, a little daisy, it was cute. She also sent a little button, really cute little button, and I thought I would take that and put it on a needle threader and then keep it with this one. So I always have a needle threader with it. It's very, very cute. So I know she already received her bag because she posted it over on Instagram. And I did not do a public on this one because I know when I went back on her video and I was looking at the comments, my friend Mair over at Sin City Cross Stitcher, she wanted this bag too, so I beat her to it. And posting the bag kind of felt like maybe I was about it, but so yeah. After I received this, oh, and I forgot to grab this too, and I've already been back to the house 3 times already, but before she sent this out, she asked me if I would like this one chart that she picked up, and I'm guessing was a freebie table. It was of a wolf, and I said, yes, I would love it. I consider wolves kind of to be like my spirit animal, although that's probably not really accurate. A porcupine Porcupine is probably more accurate. When I've read up on porcupines as, you know, spiritual whatchamacallits, like what they represent probably more closely aligns with me than what the wolf does. But given my ancestry with and the history with wolves, I feel like wolves are my spirit animal. Anyways, so I said, yes, please. So that came with, and I really like it, that chart, and I'm gonna have to kit it up, of course. So that will be happening very soon. And then shortly after I received all this, she put out a couple new charts, and I think it was just a couple. She's been putting out some really cute charts, as I said in my previous video. And this one she posted, and I shared on my stories. She contacted me and asked if I would like a complimentary copy of the chart. Not even hesitating, I said, yes, please. Yes, because it was that cute, and probably, well, it has chickens in it, and I am a chicken mama. Not only that, it's a really good springtime cross-stitch piece. So I will put a picture up here of it because it is called Strawberries and Chickens. I started it on April 28th. Like I said, I did not even hesitate. I quick pulled the floss. I decided what color fabric I wanted, and I dyed it myself, and the fabric turned out just the way I wanted it to. And I almost said I cast on. I started it almost, I think, the same evening that the fabric was all dry. And everybody that has seen this chart has enthused about how cute it is. And it is a really cute chart, and I'm really happy with the fabric. And I think everybody should go out and get this chart because it's that cute. And this is how mine looks so far. And of course, on the video, the strawberries look darker than they actually are. The fabric color is pretty on. But yeah, the pictures and video just can't do justice to this, of what it looks like in real life. And I'm just in love with it. I've been stitching on it, I think, almost every evening since I got it. And these are the colors for it. Yeah, for whatever reason, the reds are showing up a lot darker than what they actually are. I've got my stats on this. I've got 1,819 stitches in it so far out of 2,678. So I am just over almost 68% complete with it. I've been working on it element by element. I started out with the strawberry, then I moved up, I made the grass, then I moved over into here. I just started this one, the beehive, last night. And if I had had a little bit more time, I think I would have been able to complete all the stripes. I do have one unintentional customization in it, which of course, well, no, two. You'd never be able to tell what they are, but one of them is because counting is hard. And Jess might be able to see what the little customizations are, but at a glance, unless you know, you don't know, you can't see it. But yeah, this is potato chip stitching for me. I can't wait to see this all done and complete. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Okay, so Strawberries and Chickens by Lumi Stitch. It is on her Ko-Fi shop, which the link to her coffee shop, the link to her stores will be down below in the show notes. The listing of friends who have online shops I share in every Flosstube video, it'll be down there. Okay, let's talk Mudpuppy May. Even though May, we're about like a week into May so far, if I remember right. Last year, Bethany.Stitcher here on YouTube and or Instagram. Last year, I saw her make a proposal, or maybe she was already doing it last year. I don't remember. Said she was going to do Mudpuppy May, and I like the idea of Mudpuppy May so much that I wrote it down on my book of days so I would not forget, because I love, how many times can I say Mudpuppy May? I love Mudpuppy Stitchery's charts, and I thought Mudpuppy May would be a great way to celebrate her and her designs. So I picked 4 charts. I stuck it on a wheel, and I decided to do something a little different with this. Rather than do like 1 chart a week, I thought I'd put these 4 on the wheel, spin the wheel, stitch what it chose, but then also I did a second wheel that had 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500 on it. I will stitch that many stitches that it calls for, and then when that's done, I will move on to the next one. I've been keeping all 4 charts projects in one of my big old bags that I purchased from Fat Quarter Shop a while back ago. The 4 charts that I chose were George's Green Frog, Eastern Bluebird, which is a freebie over on her Patreon. Oh, George's Green Frog is a freebie on her Patreon as well. What did I... 1, 2, 3. Oh. And then Grackle, which is her most recent Patreon chart. And then Spike the Porcupine, which I have not spun yet, surprisingly. The funny thing about doing spin the wheel is I think I have it set so it's completely random, not weighted or whatever it is, where it can spin twice in a row, 3 times in a row, whatever. And has done that for George's Green Frog, which I think the first few days I was starting to think I was never going to spin anything but George's Green Frog and work on it. So I will share in the order that I started stitching on them. Let me get things ready. I am so proud of myself that I remembered to bring one of these out here, and I think I'll just keep it out here so I don't have to worry about bringing them back and forth. All right, my project card for George's Green Frog. I started it May 1st, called for DMC, 14 count Aida, in the toast color. It's the same fabric that I used for the snapping turtle that I model stitched for Kenzie. And here is the DMC. Very fun colors. I have on here so far, I've actually been keeping all the floss for the 4 projects on one thing. And I thought about just keeping them all together and then flipping through, since I'm keeping all the projects in the same project bag. But then it occurred to me that I wouldn't be able to share exactly which colors are with each chart. So okay, George's Green Frog. The first time I spun was 100 stitches. The second time I spun was 200 stitches, and the third time I spun was 100 stitches. So 400 stitches so far. I started the chart in the middle, and this is where we are so far. And this is the outline for the heart. I have a question for you people. When you put your fabric, your project back in the project bag, do you roll your fabric up? Because I thought that was the best way to go about it, but I'm noticing now that all my fabric is rolling and doesn't really want to stay flat when I pull things out like this. Let me know. Okay, so 400 stitches out of 4,697. I am 8.5% complete. The second one that I spun on the wheel was the Eastern Bluebird freebie. That I've got my project card here. So I started this on May 3rd. I decided to do something a little different with this one and do even weave. So it's 28 count even weave in ivory color that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. The floss is the called for DMC. Is there anything else I want? Okay. And this one was a doozy. One spin and I got 400 stitches for it. So I decided to start working on the border. I have to like do a double check that I've got this the right side out, because I'm not used to working on even weave, and this looks, to me, it doesn't look right, but it is right. It is right. I started the border over here, and I've been working my way down, and I've been trying really, really hard and being very, very careful that I don't mess anything up. When I got down to somewhere down here, I goofed and caught it right away, so I didn't have a lot to have to rip out. I am 400 stitches in, and it is 3,237 stitches, so I am just a smidge over 3% complete. That doesn't, yeah, okay. So this one's not very exciting, but I got a lot done, and I feel once I get the border complete, it'll kind of be smooth sailing. I've only stitched a few things on even weave previously, and I'll never forget the first time I worked on it, and it was for Edna Goes to Brunch by Lumi Stitches. And there was something going on with my eyes at the time, and I thought, there is no way I can ever do even weave again. This is way too hard. No, it was just me. But that experience has made me pretty gun shy. Even though last year for that homespun Facebook group, or is it Across the Sea? The Across the Pond group, the chart that I made, I used that, I think a 28 count linen even weave. I don't think I'll do that again. That one, there's a lot of customizations on that one. Oh, and here is the floss. Don't mind me as I go off on rambly tangents. I love the blues on this one, and There's something about the combination of these two colors that I really like. So I'm wondering if those are school colors somewhere, college colors maybe for a sports team. But I like that. The last one I want to share is Forage and Grackle. I started it on May 6th, even though I forgot to write it down on my project card. Called for DMC, 14 count Ada in the silver colorway by Hobby Lobby. Even though it doesn't look silver to me, I thought this would be a good fabric color for this grackle since there's so many really pretty colors. I think she said there's 12 in here. And I am digging the colors on this one. I spun for 100 stitches to put on this one. So this one is a wee little start. And let's see, this way. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to tell which way is upright on these little middle starts. Just wee little thing so far. And hanging thread because when it says to stop, I stop. And I wasn't about to tear that off because I just started that color. I just realized I forgot to share stats on that one. I have 100 stitches in on the Foraging Grackle. Out of 4,482 stitches, I am at 0.56%. Even though I have not spun Spike the Porcupine yet, I did want to share about it. So this is what the chart looks like. This is what I have on my project card so far. I'll be using the called for DMC, which is a lot of browns, brown family. Bethany over at Bethany Bird Stitcher, she is working on this chart already, and I think she's as far, all the stitches are done and she just needs to do the back stitching on it, and I think she's mentally preparing herself for that. I am using 14 count Ada that I dyed myself. I thought I would try something a little bit different because I am still new to dyeing fabric for myself, so I don't know all the ins and outs of it, and I'm still very much in a play around and see what happens phase. But I knew I wanted to go green, and I was looking for so that it kind of looked like they're like shadows in the tree, although, okay. I have a story over on my blog about a porcupine that I consider myself to be caretaker of back in 2020. And he lived in my woodpile. And I would feed him oats, and I shared about him in one of the Facebook groups. What do you see out your window? So that's why I say he kind of went viral, because the photo was so cute of him that everybody just fell in love with him. But the first time I saw him wasn't actually in my woodpile, and he wasn't up in a pine tree that they're kind of more known for doing. I actually saw him in an oak tree on the back of my property back there in the early fall. So it is possible, you know, leaves, sun dappling through the leaves, and I wanted to try to recreate that, which, you know, was a long way of saying I wanted to try to recreate that effect. So this is what I came up with. And it's funny how things look in real life and then you see them on the video. Maybe that would be the way to go when I start stitching this. Maybe. But that's the fabric that I dyed. and I think it's gonna go fantastically with these colors. And I don't think I have to worry about the green really ghosting on it. Yeah, that's the only green. So that is all my Mudpuppy Stitchery stuff so far. And I think I'm going to spin the wheel with you guys so you can see what the next thing is that I'll be working on. Oh, wrong wheel. All right, see? Mudpuppy May. There's my options. George's frog again. Four times now, I think. And number of stitches. Oh, 500. Okay, this one's gonna keep me busy for at least 2 days. Alrighty. Last cross stitch project that I wanted to share is in FFO. We Be Patriotic by Mrs. AZ Family Zoo. I almost said it. I almost said knits. I didn't bring my project card out here with me because I didn't. And you just saw a glimpse. Okay. All right, she put out this chart. Alison put out this chart in early April, I believe it was. I saw it, decided I needed to have it and I needed to stitch it. And it took me a couple days maybe to stitch it. It took me longer to decide how I wanted to FFO it. I'm using the called for DMC. The fabric I dyed myself. Are you sensing a trend here? 14 count Aida. And I finished it into a little pillow. Here's the backing fabric. I thought the green and the yellow would go well with the front. So this is enjoying a place of honor in my living room right now. I do have plans on purchasing the rest of the series. I will put a link to her website down in the comments. So if you want to stitch this as well, you know where to go get it. The next thing I wanted to talk about is books, which is something that is not discussed a lot here on the channel, and it's mostly because I have been in a book funk. I think two of the last books that I was reading and listening to, I just couldn't. One of them was Wuthering Heights, and that was, I think, January. Might have been a little earlier than that, and I could not get into that story whatsoever. And then I was listening to the second Lord of the Rings book, and I couldn't either. That one, I like the movies. I've listened to the Hobbit trilogy, and I love that. But the Lord of the Rings, I just couldn't. So I kind of sat and floated along trying to decide, what did I want to read? What did I want to listen to? And I didn't know what genre I wanted, so I was kind of holding off on that. So one night when I was spinning, and I thought, I want to throw a movie on, and I saw Hawaii Hawaii is an old movie. I think it's from the 60s maybe. And it's got Julie Andrews in it, and it's got the guy who played Jesus from The Greatest Story Ever Told in it as the main character. And this is the book that I've actually read twice, maybe 3 times. Don't ask me why, but there was something about that I wanted to read it more than once. I haven't finished the movie on that one, but after I was done watching that for the night, I went to my library's website and looked to see what they had available for downloadable audiobooks. And I checked out Alaska by James Michener, and I am slowly listening to that one. If you're not familiar with James Michener, he has the tendency to start at the very beginning, and then he crosses over thousands of years telling the stories. Like Hawaii started with a piece of rock jutting out of the soil, and a bird flew over and deposited its droppings, and in its droppings was a seed, and in that seed grew whatever. I mean, it's that kind of start from the beginning. And he did the same thing in this book, Alaska, and it was calming. The book reader they have for this one has a good voice, and it's soothing to listen to. I am like 10 hours in on I think it's 57 hours. Yeah, it's pretty long, but I'm enjoying the story up until the Russians came to Alaska and discovered the fur of sea otters. And I'm not going to really go into that part, but I mean, I said to my husband, because he's listening to this with me as well, and he's actually now ahead of me because I had to take a little bit of time to kind of calm down before going back and listening to it. But I said, well, even when he was talking about the woolly mammoths, see, I'm kind of all over with this one, but I said, I don't know how Michener managed to do it, but with not really being flowery descriptive, like you feel as if these animals are actually like not speaking to you, but like they're thinking and they're pondering and they know what's going on, and I was upset about the sea otters. I raged about this one guy, and I'm waiting for him to get his comeuppance because I have absolutely no doubt that the early fur traders were exactly as how it is being described in this book. So if you decide to listen to or read, I would recommend skipping the part when they start talking about the sea otters, because they're not too kind about the natives as well. And I just need to, I don't want to say get over that. I need to, there's no point in getting this upset over something that's already happened and you have no control over it, because it's over and done with and we know better. And I would like to think that we're doing better. And also, as and I wasn't expecting to go into a tangent about this, but those who've been watching for a long time know that I'm a hunter. And so I feel particularly strong and passionate about some things, and to read about some of the stuff and their practices with this, it angers me and it hurts my heart, because it does. Let's just leave it at that. So I am listening to Alaska, and My husband told me that the one guy is going to get his comeuppance, and I am glad for that, even though it's a fictional character. The other book I've got going right now that I'm actually reading is The Saints of Swallow Hill by Donna Everhart. This is a book I heard about on another Flosstube, I'm sure. The story, it's set in, I don't know if it's the 20s or late 20s or the 30s. It's kind of like Depression era with the Hoover houses. That's kind of like my touchstone to the time frame. There's two main characters, Ray, Lynn, and Del Reese. And I'm sure there's going to be their own timelines, storylines are going to bring them to this, I guess, turpentine farm. And I'm sure something's going to happen, and I don't want to say everybody's going to get along and have food, because that wouldn't make for a very good story now, would it? But I think the Ray. I think Ray is going to go to this camp, and she's going to disguise herself as a guy, a male, so she can get work. And, you know, something's going to happen, and I'm sure they're going to help each other. Already, I don't want to say this is accurate for the time frame, but again, there's a couple things that have already not set well with me that I think I'm glad that we are better than that, than how things used to be. And I've got another book actually waiting at the library for me to pick up. And I want to say it's The Correspondence, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I just gotta remember to go get it. You know how it is when you put requests in for books and then all of a sudden they all show up at once, and that's kind of what's happening here. But I'm kind of spitballing and seeing what sticks and seeing what kind of genres I would be interested in now. I did a lot of young adult reading, and it just, I don't think it's my jam anymore. It's probably because I'm old and crabby now. A couple more things cross-stitch related. I have the ticket for the spring mingle. My sister-in-law is not coming up that weekend. It is the weekend after that she's coming up. So I don't have to worry about missing too much of the fun, I guess, the weekend. And I'm crossing my fingers that I can log on a little bit more frequently than I did with the Jingle Ball. I won a pattern from Denise over at Black Ribbon Stitch Studio. She put out her first video in 3 or 4 months, and I can't remember what she called it, something about a stash dive maybe, and she wanted to do a stitch along with whoever chose the next chart she was going to work on, I think is how it went. And I won Love is Patient, Love is Kind by Artful Offerings, so I'll be stitching that along with her. I've sent an email to her, and she is going to gift me the chart, I think is how it's going to go, or she's going to mail it to me. I don't know yet. She hasn't gotten back to me, and I realize that not everybody lives in their email like I do. I realize I'm not as much of a, well, I'm getting away from social media, and I don't do as much instant messaging as I used to, and texting is bare minimum, but email, I am there. It's probably because there's not as many sounds. I have a new Flosstuber to recommend. Bridget over at Dawson Stitchery. She showed up on my recommendations, I don't remember how long ago, and I watched a few of her videos. I think she's got 8 out now, and she is a very lovely person to listen to. She does cross stitch and yarn crafting, both knitting and crocheting, and she's like into finding vintage patterns. And I think the last video of hers I watched, she found a few magazines and books from one of her local thrift shops. That's life update. Last week I fully intended to put out a garden journal video. The weather did not cooperate with me. The weather has been kind of crummy the last week. Yeah, I'm trying to think of just how long it has been. This week has been kind of a blur for me. But for the last week and a half or so, the weather has just been crap. Cooler weather, rain, which I know we should be happy with the rain that we get, because I know there's drought in some areas of the country. Right now it's overcast. It was sunny and now it's overcast again. Temperature's like 45 degrees out, although my son texted me. He's in the city right now working, and he said it's 60 degrees over by the big lake, which, if you don't know, I live by Lake Superior. Well, actually like 30 miles or so from Lake Superior, but I grew up next to Lake Superior. So I haven't done any really much with the gardening stuff. I had plans, grand delusions if you will, of rototilling the garden this week, but the weather is just, it's not been fun. I've been running the wood stove. That's how icky it's been, damp feeling. Yeah, I did some, this past weekend, the weather was really nice. Since it was our first nice weekend, my husband and I went out for our first bike ride. We went down, rode our bikes down to the Brule River and had a picnic. A lot of other people had the same idea of going to the river, because there was quite a few people there. So I didn't get to take as many photos as I would have wanted. We also did some work out in the back 20. One of the last times we were out there, my husband spotted a tree that had blown down from one of the last windstorms. And so we cut a trail up to it so we can bring the ATV back there with the trailer on it. And actually, now that I think about it, maybe he already did this. I don't know. I was busy playing in the garden when he was doing some of this stuff. But we cut a lot of brush down, and I've got pictures of that on my blog if you're interested. So we did that on Saturday. And then Sunday after the bike ride, I was playing in the garden, and then even though the sun was shining, the wind picked up, and it was not good for making a video. But I did get some lettuce seeds planted, and I up-blocked a few things. And now, I don't know, it feels later in May than what it actually is. But now basically I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for nicer weather. There was one day earlier was it this week? Last week? I don't know. Well, I will tell you that we had snow yesterday. It was the hard pellety kind, not the big fluffy snowflakes. We've actually had that 2 days and it didn't stick. But, you know, snow in May, it makes you feel kind of sour. And I'm just thinking, really not much else going on. Just waiting for the warmer temperatures. Yeah. So okay, that is it for now. One day I will think of something really witty and clever to say to start my outros, but today is not that day. So until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.